Okay, on tonight's little project, I'm going to take part of this Minneapolis Moline 445 hydraulic unit apart. This is the first version that Minneapolis came out with in 1956. It does not have the, it is not a teleflow unit. If it was, it would have two levers coming out of this plate right here that would control some of the function on your 3-point here. But this is the early unit, sometime around 1957. Whether it was right away in 1957 or maybe even real late 56. They started coming out with the teleflow unit, which is an improved version. The 445 that I have is a 56. So this come off of a parts tractor that I acquired. So we'll do a little tearing apart here. The first thing you always want to do anytime you're doing more than just changing the filter is right here. If you're going to get into the real body of it here, in order to remove this pipe right here that feeds hydraulic oil to the 3-point lift cylinder, you need to take the 3-point lift cylinder loose from the housing, because if you don't, you will bend this pipe here trying to get it out. So that's what we'll start with here. There is a little pipe plug right here that'll need to come out in order to access this bolt properly. So we'll take that out, and we'll turn the 4 bolts out for the hydraulic cylinder here. I'm hoping it'll be in better shape than the cylinder that was on my other hydraulic unit, but we'll find out here in a second. The piston should be all the way in the forward position in the front here, because the arms are all the way down. So, and there's 4 bolts to get this loose, so the bottom 2 might be a son of a gun for you, but it all depends. The early teleflows are very similar to this. The ones that would have been on the 4 stars, the Jet Stars, if so equipped. Most of the Jet Stars do not have 3-point because they were intended to be a stripped down tractor. Basically just an engine, a seat, and a drawbar, unless you wanted to option them out, because they still have all of the parts and pieces to be able to put more or less all the features off of a 4-star on them. But they were supposed to be an economy tractor, and they served that purpose fairly well. But we'll get, there's the last bolt. So now we have to take the retainer off of the little pipe here. So that way so we can remove everything here. This little clip here retains the pipe into the cylinder there. So now that we have everything loose, we'll give it a couple taps here. Try and get things to loosen up. It would help some if the piston was all the way in the back, but because it's not, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. Here. Let's pull this ahead just a little bit. There we go. Okay, we got it loose. Now this is loose, and if you wanted to, then you could bolt this back up on your unit here, but I want to take this off and look at it. There's some watery, slimy stuff in there. At first glance, the cylinder looks pretty good. I don't know if you can see in there, but framing, yeah, come on, there. Yeah, I don't know, you can maybe see a little bit, but there's a big O-ring here on there. So there's no gasket to worry about when you take it apart. But that cylinder looks not too bad. We'll set that off to the side for now. So there's our piston. The next thing would be to take the filter housing off, because you have to. The filter housing helps hold this pipe in. So, but I also want to see what the filter is in there. Maybe it still has an actual Minneapolis filter in there, and that would be really cool. Might be something I could clean up and put on the shelf. We'll see here in a second. But you pull this cap off, and that gets your main screen off out of there. And then your filter is in here. Okay. That's interesting. But this is your screen. It's supposed to keep the big particles out. And then let's pick up this little washer. There's a little rubber washer, sealing washer here that goes on it as well. We'll just put that there. Put that there. So this filter appears to be more or less just a sock. On the other unit I have, I pulled it apart and there was a paper filter in there. If I remember correctly, I think it was an actual Agco filter even. But so I got the filter out. So now we can take our filter canister off. You have to be careful because there's some springs that go between the filter canister and the valve block. This section here is the valve block. This section here is the filter, and this section here is your linkage for actuating everything. So we'll take this off carefully. One thing to note, the tractor that I pulled this off of had power steering, and if I remember correctly, your power steering return line goes right here, and because on the good 445, it was actually a power steering delete. So instead of a pipe here, there's a plug there. So just something to be aware of. Okay. Another note or thing to note is that these are long studs that run all the way through here. The bottom one here, the whole stud is turning out instead of just the nut. So you want to be careful of that as well, or at least be mindful, because if you end up taking all the studs out, well, then everything will just kind of fall apart. These, especially these early 3-point / hydraulic unit / hydraulic tank. This is also your hydraulic reservoir. Back in this part, your transmission oil and your hydraulic are separate. Originally it would have took ATF type 1, or yeah, type A, I believe, but any good hydraulic oil is more or less just fine, as long as you're not mixing oils. There's always the chance that something bad could happen. I believe also Dextron 4 or older, Dextron 3 as well, would also be suitable, because they're the Dextron 3 or 4, you know, something the person has to look up from time to time, but 3 or 4 is still the old formulation for that's good for the old GM transmissions. So, you know, because at the same time this would have been new. Okay, that's a good sign. We've got a little bit of ATF, or at least some red looking fluid leaking out the bottom here. when this would have been new, the GM transmission. Available at the time would have been the Power Slide. Power Glide is the actual name. Let's put a hand on here just to the springs are springing now, but that's a good sign. So now you got to be careful. There's 3 springs that go in here. There, we got that out. Now we got our pipe loose. But there's 3 springs. Whoops. Oh. 3 springs of varying lengths. So you got to keep a little bit track of them. You got to make sure there's this little ferrule thing that goes in this one here. It helps keep it on the in place there. But anyways, this spring goes up here, which helps with your, I believe that's the pressure relief up there. The big spring here goes in the middle, and that is for your 3-point lift piston here, valve, which appears to be a little bit stuck. That's fine. But the outlets, let's see. Oh no, I bet this one goes. Let me double check here. Let's see. This goes this way. Oh yeah, I had that wrong. It's easy to get them mixed up. This one goes down here. This one and this one are both part of your 3-point lift. The one here is the valve, the regular valve. I believe, if I remember correctly, the middle one is for your draft control. And then you have I don't know, one. It's hard to remember, even though I just took it apart. But there's 3 springs in there. You gotta remember which one was where. It helps a lot if you have a parts manual. But so now, if we want, we can remove all of this as a single unit. Before we do that, I'm going to, oh, of course I didn't bring that size. I will have to pause you and bring you back. This is where you fill the oil when you need to fill oil. You take that 4-bolt cover off, and I'll show it to you here in a second. So, alright, I'll bring you back in a second here. Okay, and we're back. So, as I was saying before, this is where you fill the oil. And there's one little thing to be aware of when you take it out, which you'll see in a second here. So okay, oh yeah, one more bolt. There's supposed to be lock washers on here. There's only one on 3 of them for some reason. Who knows? But you take this off and you can pour the oil in. And there's also a second plate here that will give you a little bit of access if need be. And it's got this little dangly bit here, which is a bit of a wear plate that goes between part of your linkage here for your draft control, I believe. That's the part there. But now we should be able to just slide everything forward. Maybe. Of course, everything wants to be a little bit difficult. One other thing, there is a linkage right here that goes from your 3-point arm back here that that corresponds with your lift lever here. So that way, if you put it in lift, this is lift here, when it gets all the way to the top, instead of just deadheading everything, it'll automatically pop it back into neutral. That's one feature, let's say, about this 3-point hitch is you have kind of 4 positions. You have lift, hold, so your 3-point hitch will do more or less nothing, down, and when it's at the position you want, or if it's at the position you want, you put it back into hold. If you have gauge wheels or something and want to let it just float, you'd put it here. And if you put it all the way down like this, now you would be in draft control. So that's the way that works. But we're having some minor difficulties here. I'm sure the bolts have got plenty of crud and rust on them. But I'm going to do a couple things here, and we'll bring you back. Okay, I took all 4 studs out, and I disconnected the linkage back here. There's a spring on it as well. So with all 4 studs out, I should be able to wiggle this thing out of here now. Or maybe I'm not done riding the struggle bus. It's starting to come. I'm pretty sure, oops, the bolt for the spring here fell out. I'm pretty sure what I'm fighting, is the draft control is kind of, it's kind of stuck in there. it. Goes all the way to the back here and out the back side in order to do its job. So let's see, we're making progress anyways, but I'll bring you back here in a second because we're not riding the struggle bus quite so hard now, but it's still fighting me, so just give me a minute here. Okay, it's getting harder to see, so we'll have to quit soon, but just like I kind of figured, the shaft that comes out the back side here that actuates on your draft control pivot. This has got top link sensing. This goes in the back here and it just pivots back and forth. You have these bolts to help adjust it, because it shouldn't move much, and you got a little pin that pushes against here. So hopefully now we can maybe. Oh, we're still riding the struggle bus, I see. Okay. I don't want to let that hang there, but we'll do that anyways. You'll have to just bear with me here. I'm sure there's a bit of a burr on this thing that's holding us up. Come on. Oh, I hope I'm not getting anything bent here. Doggone it. Okay, we're still riding the struggle bus. I'll have to bring you back here in a minute. Hopefully I'll get this out before I call it a day here. Okay, I managed to get it out. You can see now, this is the linkage that goes through the back side of the 3-point here, and it just pivots back and forth like this, depending on how you have everything set, and controls everything there. There's linkages here, so we'll have to evaluate everything and go from there. The 3-point arms are still stuck, so they must be stuck up in this part here. So that'll be something to have to work on here. I want to be real careful with these parts right here, because on my other 3-point, one of the ears on this that attaches this bushing like piece here, this arm support, one of the ears is broke off. So depending on which housing I use, I need to be real careful of these and make sure everything's taken care of, so we have enough good parts to put something together at some point here. One other thing, there's a big spring right here that is supposed to help regulate your draft control. They're usually filled with garbage and stuck in there, so I'll have to work at getting that out. But you can more clearly see here with this pin all the way through, with that pin all the way through, this will hang on here and pivot back and forth, bouncing on that spring, and then that pin pushes against this raised boss here on there. So it's late, it's getting dark. I've kind of had enough fun for one day. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you found it useful.